alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam.
I would like to first and foremost congratulate you all on the birth and zuhur of the 12th Imam alayhi salatu wassalam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
I wanted to get into some of the biographies of the 12th Imam, but mashallah, that has already been exhausted by the youth. So I want to just talk a little bit about Ghaibat al-Sughra and Ghaibat al-Kubra. Ghaibat al-Sughra lasted for a period of about 68 to 69 years. And we can see this period as a transition from the Shia community having the Imam present to the Shia community not having the Imam present. You know, you think about it, for almost 200 years, the Shia community, although they had a lot of problems, they couldn't propagate their religion openly, they couldn't practice their religion openly. They faced persecution originally by the Umayyad and then later by the Abbasid. But what they had for them was their Imam present. And whenever they would have any issue, they could go to the Imam and relate their problems with them, whether it was an economic problem or a theological problem, or whether a social issue or whatever issue it was, they could go to the Imam personally and have a conversation with them. But for the first time in the year 260 after Hijri, this was about to change. Imam Zamana alayhi salam at the age of 5 was about to go behind the veil of ghaib. It was not going to be apparent anymore to the Shia community. And so to prepare the community for Ghaibat al-Kubra, the major occultation, there had to be a transition phase known as Ghaibat al-Sughra. And during this time, the Imam appointed his deputies, his representatives, who would relate, who would transmit any problems that the Shia community had to the Imam. And the Shia community would be able to contact the Imam through these deputies. But during this time, the Imam prepared the community for the larger occupation, the major occupation. And so, by saying this, I do want to get into the intidar of the Imam, waiting for the Imam. And before I get into that, I want to talk about some of the psychological aspects of having goals in life, having struggle in life, and despair. And so to just talk about that briefly, goals are something that we all have in life. Objectives. Insan by nature is goal-oriented. We have objectives, we set objectives for ourselves, whether consciously or subconsciously. And throughout our life, we try to achieve those goals. And whenever we do achieve goals, we find that we set new goals for ourselves ahead of that. Please recite Salawat Muhammad. You find that as man sets one goal for himself, he completes it, then he moves on to another goal. And this becomes a never-ending loop. Why? Because we are naturally oriented to have something to strive for, something to grasp, something to look ahead for. This is why we get jobs, this is why we have careers. So we have something to get up, in the morning out of bed. We need something so we can put food on the table. We need to have goals. And, for example, one might have a current goal that he wants to pass a term exam, for example. And once he completes that, then he might have a goal that he wants to pass school, he wants to graduate from school. Then he does that, then after he has another goal, he wants to get to college, and so on and so on. This loop keeps on going. We keep on having goals. But along those goals, we also have struggles, right? We have this struggle that comes along with this contending force that we have to contend with at all times. And, someone might think, well, we have so much struggle in life, and sometimes those struggles set us back, and it puts us in a mood of depression. And well, if only we got rid of these struggles and this contending force, then maybe we could all live in a utopia. We could live in a perfect life with no struggles, and all we had to do was achieve our goals, and that would be so easy. With no struggle, no contention. And well, the philosophers have argued this is not possible. Because we as humans, we need a struggle in our life. And the Islamic word for this is jihad. We need jihad in our lives. We need something to contend with. And once we contend with those forces, then we can come out on the other end stronger than before. We can perfect our nafs and our badan this way. But what happens if we don't come out on the other end? What happens if we lose to that struggle? If we cannot fight the struggle, whether external or internal, whether it's possible that we fall into despair. And what is despair? Hopelessness. And we look at people who fall into despair, We look at severe depression. These people don't see any hope in their life. They don't see any future. That's how you fall into the depths of nihilism. You don't see any future. Right? And you look at the biographies of, these people who do terrible things to themselves and to others around them. You look at mass shooters, for example. You look at serial killers. You find that they have fallen into these depths of nihilism because they don't see any meaning in life. They don't see any meaning. They have no future. They isolate themselves from the world. They have no social life. They're by themselves and they see no hope ahead. And so I want to relate this. This was a secular psychological perspective. I want to relate this to the more religious perspective, in particular to the religion of Islam. Please recite Salawat Muhammad wa alayhi.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Within the religion of Islam, we can find that the ultimate objective is to get to Yawm al-Qiyamah.
Subhanallah, Subhanallah.
To get to Yawm al-Qiyamah, to have something to present on that day.
MashaAllah.
To present something and hopefully have Muhammad Ali Muhammad intercede for us on that day. To receive the shifa'ah. And so we can set that as the ultimate objective. Getting to Yawm al-Qiyamah and hopefully inshallah getting to Jannah on that day as our ultimate objective. Right? But that again comes with its struggles. It comes with its setbacks and its problems, and that is when we have to employ jihad. Sometimes we have to struggle with ourselves or other people, right? And struggling with ourselves, the scholars say this is jihad al-akbar. The greatest jihad is not attacking and killing. Jihad al-akbar is not attacking and killing innocent civilians. The scholars say that jihad al-akbar is jihad with the nafs. To struggle with yourself, to struggle with the material world and its desires that it gives you. And once you struggle with that, then you can perfect your nafs. Then you can come out on the other end, being a stronger and more spiritual person. But what happens if you lose hope? What happens, as we talked about, despair? From the secular perspective, people who lose despair, what happens to them? They isolate themselves from the world. They have no hope and they end up doing terrible things. But what happens if someone loses hope in Allah? And subhanAllah, this is one of the greatest sins in Islam. Ayatollah Mustafa Shirazi, in his greater sins, he lists despair in Allah as the second greatest sin after shirk. The second greatest sin is to lose hope in Allah. And what do I mean? I want to stress this point because it is something that we are all in fear of falling into. And so I do want to stress this point. To never lose hope in the mercy of Allah. What is losing hope in the mercy of Allah? Someone says, I have committed so many sins in my life. There's no way I'll get to heaven. That is losing hope in the mercy of Allah. And in the Quran, this is not coming from me or any scholar, this is coming from the Quran. In the Quran, in Surah Yusuf, Allah says, La yay'asu min ruhillah. And none despairs in the mercy of Allah. No one loses hope in the mercy of Allah illa al-qawm al-kafirun. Except the community of disbelievers. So I want to stress this point. You don't think, how many sins do you think you have committed? You don't think Allah can forgive you? What are you saying when you say that Allah cannot change you or send you to heaven? Are you saying that Allah does not have the quwwat to change you, to send you to heaven? You don't think Allah has the power to forgive you? Luqman, he said something very beautiful to his son. Luqman, who's mentioned in the Quran, by the way. In a hadith, Allama Majlisi writes in his Hayat al-Qulub that Luqman says to his son that even if your sins equal to all that of humanity, we carry the burden of only our sins. Luqman says, even if you carry the burden of all the sins of humanity, don't lose hope in the mercy of Allah. Why? Because this Allah, we begin almost every surah in the Quran by saying Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. This Allah, He is al-Ghafur, He is al-Latif. You don't think He can forgive you? And so, now to advance this onto the perspective of Imam Zamana alayhi salam.
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
We establish Yawm al-Qiyamah as the ultimate objective, at least in the hereafter. But what about our objective in this world? Well, we can say that our ultimate objective in this world from a religious perspective is waiting for the reappearance of the 12th Imam. Because that is what leads to Yawm al-Qiyamah, and that is what we all strive for every day. Hopefully, inshallah. And so, striving and waiting, this intizar of Imam, what is this intizar? Well, the scholars have talked about this. Intizar of the Imam isn't just waiting around and looking at the clock and waiting for the Imam to appear. No. The Zuhur doesn't happen when the Imam comes. This is something I want to stress. The Zuhur doesn't just happen when the Imam comes. And Imam Musa al-Kazim alayhi salam talks about
Allahumma salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad.
a companion of the Imam asks him a question about the intidar of the Imam. The Imam says, don't you know that waiting for the reappearance is part of the reappearance? Waiting for the Zuhur to happen is part of the Zuhur. Why? Because, well, why hasn't the Zuhur happened yet? What is the Imam waiting for? The Imam is waiting for the 313. You know, you think about how many Shi'as are in the world today. The latest consensus data shows that there are now over 2 billion Muslims on planet Earth. Inshallah, we will be first in the 50, 60 years. But right now, there are over 2 billion, we can say about 2 to 400 billion of them are Shia. Yet, there are still not 313 that we can give to the Imam. So perhaps it is these 313 that we are waiting for. And these 313 whose nafs will be perfect, who will perfect themselves by preparing for the Imam, by employing preparation for the Imam. And so, but what happens if someone loses hope in the coming of the 12th Imam? And this is one of the reasons why we haven't been given the date of when the Imam will come. And the Imam say that if he did give this is one of the reasons, there are many reasons, but this is one of the reasons, that if he gave the time when the Imam would reappear, then, you know, someone would look at that time, someone would look at that year, and he says, you know, that's not 200 or 300 years from now. What would happen? People would start to lose hope. They would say the Imam is not coming in our lifetime. And the net effect of that would be people would start to apostatize. And so that's one of the reasons that we shouldn't lose hope in the Imam. We should every day strive and hope that we can see the zuhur of the Imam in our lifetimes. And, you know, I do want to conclude on one point. There's a common saying in Western literature, you know, that things will often get worse before they get better. And I think that's quite a phenomenal idea. And I think that's represented within the literature surrounding the reappearance of the Imam. What does the literature say of the alamat of the Imam? They say that the Shia will be broken up. Before the Imam comes, the Shia will be broken up. They will be broken up like glass. Like not even like glass, they will be broken up like pots. So much so that they cannot be even joined back together. They say that tyranny will be common, tyrannical governments will rule the world. Muslims will be killing Muslims, and in fact, they will only be Muslim by name. The Quran will not even be heard of. And so we find that things are going to get a lot worse. You know, when you're climbing that hill, it seems to get steeper and steeper before you get to the other side. You're in that tunnel, you're trying to see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it keeps on getting darker. But the Quran says, the Quranic literature and the Islamic literature says that it will get worse, but inshallah it will end with the zuhur of the Mahdi. And that is something we need to start with. And I will just conclude with one ayah of the Quran so that we can intertwine our lives with the Quran. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran says, وَأَسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ, and seek patience through patience and prayer. May Allah give us all sabr in the coming days. May Allah keep us steadfast in our religion. May Allah give us the tawfiq of seeing the zuhur of the Imam within our lifetime. ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم.